Good evening, everybody. Before I begin the regular City Council meeting closed session, I would like to remind members of the audience wishing to speak during public comment, you must obtain a number card from the city clerk. And we are just getting our meeting started. Can I have our member of the audience take a seat? Thank you. I would like to call to order the regular City Council meeting closed session. The time is 5:38. City Clerk Duarte, would you please take roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Horn,
Present.
Councilmember Sosa,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo,
Here.
and Mayor Ferometa.
Present. Do we have anybody for public comment? I don't think we
do not, Mayor.
do.
And we also didn't receive any written public comment for this closed session part of the meeting.
Thank you, City Clerk. Appreciate that. Seeing that there is no public comment, I will close public comment. I will make a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
So ordered by the mayor. The City Council will now recess to close session under the following authorities: Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claim, workers' compensation claim, claimant Michael Scannell, claim number 15-122049 and 12-114635, Workers' Compensation Appeals Board number ADJ 8739457 and ADJ 9877350, agency claimed against City of Downey. Number 2, Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claim, workers' compensation claim, claimant Ed Hano, claim number 17-131434 and 21-154960, the agency claimed against City of Downey. Number 3, Government Code Section 54956.9D4, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, initiation of litigation, one potential case. We will now recess to close session. The time is 5:40. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to everybody. It's 6:30, and the time is 6:30. And Ms. Interim City Attorney, would you please report the closed session action?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. The City Council convened a closed session at 5:30 this evening to discuss 3 items of business on the posted agenda. Workers' compensation, 2 workers' compensation claims, and 1 matter of initiation of litigation. The City Council approved on this 3rd item, gave direction to initiate litigation, and the additional particulars of that litigation upon inquiry will be disclosed after the litigation has formally commenced. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Before we begin the regular City Council meeting open session, I would like to welcome all of you to our City Council meeting, your City Council meeting, and especially also those of you that are watching us via YouTube. Welcome. I would like to remind members of the audience that anyone wishing to speak during public comment must obtain a number card from the city clerk. And if you didn't obtain a number and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room and city staff will issue you a number card. Lining up during public comment will not be permitted, and each speaker should remain in their seat until their number is called. The time clock will begin when you begin your comments. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting, open session. The time is 6:32. City Clerk Duarte, would you please take roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Horn,
Present.
Councilmember Sosa,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo,
Here.
and Mayor Frometa.
Present. At this time, I would like to ask everybody in the audience to please rise. It is my honor to serve this city, and it is my honor to pray for our city. If we can please bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you for your love and for your mercies that are new every morning. I thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to serve this city and serve the residents. I thank you for our fire department. I thank you for our police department. I thank you, Lord, for every individual that is out in our community serving and protecting our residents. I pray for my council colleagues and the leaders of every department, our city manager, assistant city manager, our interim city attorney. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve this community and make decisions on behalf of our residents. I pray, Lord, that you would give us the wisdom, the discernment, and the peace to carry the city's affairs forward. Give us a good meeting and allow us to continue to be a shining light in the Southeast region. In your name we pray, amen. If I can ask Chief Leslie Murray to conduct the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please place your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Well, this is the time for council member announcements, requests for future agenda items, conference and meeting reports. I will start with my far left, council member Tim Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things to report. I attended the Independent Cities Association, the ICA, summer seminar. By attending that, we picked up some information about what to do about homeless crisis, new areas. There is a new project that's in effect but doesn't officially take effect until December, which is the Care Corps. You will be hearing about it in the future. Also, I attended the 10th Annual National Night Out here in Downey, so that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Horn. Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Welcome, everybody. I also had the opportunity to attend the Independent Cities Association Summer Seminar, very informative sessions, particularly in the area of Public safety obviously continues to be at the forefront, especially when it comes to smash and grabs. I personally think that private retailers should really consider getting private security companies. Some of them make extraordinary profits, and sometimes it takes our police officers sometimes to get there. So I really think these private retailers should get armed security guards that can stop these individuals who just go into these stores and steal. I would like to see if we can have a financial literacy workshop. I understand we've done this in the past. Invite the community. Financial literacy is such an important part of the first steps of home ownership. It's my hope that someday we'll be able to move the needle in Downey from 50% renters and 50% owners to 60% owners and 40% renters. So hopefully these types of workshops can help individuals qualify for loans. Also wanted to get an update of where we are with the district in terms of the fentanyl awareness campaign. Hoping that they'll be able to have something this summer. If not, I'd like to see if we could do something around the issue of this poison that we know is affecting our communities. I had the opportunity to attend the Twilight Summer concert, always a great time. The concert's in the park. I remember when I lived in the 3rd District, and every Wednesday night during the summer, we know we were going to be impacted by lots of traffic and parking, but it was worth it because it's a beautiful time for our community to come together. If you didn't get a chance this season, please remember every summer, Wednesdays, concerts in the park at Furman Park. I want to thank the staff. While we've been in transition, beginning with our new city manager, I believe that now with the city attorney search that we're in the middle of finishing, once we fill that spot, and then the economic development director, all positions will be filled with permanent appointments that will help us take the city forward into the next great chapter of what our city is. I do agree with the mayor when she says that our best days are ahead of us. I attended Good Gangs Out of Downey. Free backpack giveaway, Saturday, August the 12th, Golden Park. We hope you'll join us. And I think the mayor's going to invite you to her movie night. So I'll leave that for her. I had breakfast with the chamber. Got to see there's a gelato business in Downey now. So please support gelato. Comes to us from Italy.
Mi amore, li amore.
Mi Amore Gelato.
Yes.
Please visit that. And good luck to them. And National Night Out, always a great time with the community. The dog performance, the
Canine.
Canine. Yeah, just great work by our canines. I know there was a bill in Sacramento trying to get rid of canines, and I hope that doesn't come to fruition. The work that our canines do, along with the men and women in our police department, is very valuable. Now, I'm glad we're using drones because let's face it, sometimes I know that the dog would get sent in first in case anybody was there with a gun. Heaven forbid they would shoot at one of our officers. Sometimes, unfortunately, the dogs would get the tragic end of it. So I want to recognize the great work of our canine unit in our Downey PD. That's it, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Great report out. Thank you for that. Councilmember Sosa.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too attended the Independent Cities Association conference down in Coronado. Very informative. My colleagues have already shared some of the insights that we were able to experience while we were down there. A great organization, and us being an independent city, it's vital that we're a part of that. I attended the National Night Out as well. That's always a fun community event, and it's great to see such a great turnout, and the weather was really nice as well. As far as events, I'll keep my comments short. I do have a request for staff. I do want to see a survey conducted for speeding and burning of red lights on the intersection of Stewart and Gray and Reeves. Also, speeding going southbound from Stewart and Gray, down Reeves, Downey Avenue, and Brookshire. Those tend to be problem areas that have been going on for quite a while, and I see it every day. I drive up and down Stewart and Gray, so I'd love to see staff conduct that survey and see if we can figure something out and do something about that, because it's a safety issue.
I'll counsel Councilmember Sosa's request. I'll second it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did I say counsel?
Yes, you did.
Thank you, MPT. And that's it. That's MPT Trujillo brought up the Good Backpack Giveaway this coming Saturday. That's a huge event. I've been part of Gangs Out of Downey for a few years, and I think last year we gave out close to 400 plus backpacks. I'm bummed that this is going to be the first one I'm going to miss. So, but go there. It's a great community event, and you won't regret it. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Sosa. And for those of you, once again, it is so good to see all of you. I'm going to try to keep my comments short, but as you know, every 2 weeks, we have an opportunity to give a report to our community as far as what it is we're doing. But before I do that, would you please join me in wishing my council colleague, Hector Sosa, a happy 25th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
I do want to, that is commitment. It is his special anniversary, and yet he's here doing the work for our residents, because that is what we are committed to do. So thank you for joining us tonight. I hear that he postponed a special celebration trip because he couldn't miss tonight. So thank you. I also want to say welcome and acknowledge some individuals in our audience. The Executive Director of our Chamber of Commerce, Michael Calvert, thank you for joining us tonight. I also want to acknowledge past president, immediate past president of the Chamber of Commerce, Carmen Padilla. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight. As my council colleagues indicated, I also had the opportunity to attend ICA, Independent Cities Association, summer seminar 2 weeks ago in San Diego. And if you wonder why it is we are giving this report out, we are, by law, supposed to give you these reports whenever we are out of our city attending these meetings and conferences. And the sessions that have been mentioned on public safety and homelessness continue to be sessions in conversations and topics that are incredibly important to all of us. I also want to address, while we were there, we were notified of a situation that occurred in Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. And I do want to let our residents know, as you know, Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall, or maybe you don't know, it is on LA County land. It is owned, operated, and managed by Los Angeles County. That doesn't mean that the city doesn't have communication with the Sheriff's Department or with our county supervisor, Janice Hahn. But I want the residents to know and understand we don't have jurisdiction. We can't go in there and control the situation. But I do want to acknowledge and thank our police department, our chief, for keeping us all informed and in the communication. And I do want to thank also our city manager for continuing to carry on those conversations. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with Sheriff Luna last week, as well as Supervisor Janice Hahn, and they continue to be committed to addressing those public safety issues with Los Padrinos. And I want to make sure that our community knows and understands that we are continuing to dialogue, that they know there were some issues and they are being addressed. And as your council members, we do not have the authority to take over. That is not part of, is not city property, is county property. Moving on with that, I also want to let you know I did participate in National Night Out, as many communities across the region, across the country. And once again, I want to thank our police department because they continue to interact with our community, and they continue. As we know, law enforcement agencies across the country have faced very difficult times since the pandemic. Since our communities faced the defund the police movements, it is incredibly challenging and this is happening not just with agencies across the board, but sheriff's departments across the board, trying to recruit and retain law enforcement needs us to continue to support them if we value our safety and the safety in our neighborhoods. And National Night Out was a special time to interact with them and for the community to see our police and fire in action, the K-9 demonstrations, as well as the fire department doing what they do best. Thank you. We know that these times are difficult. Can we get, thank you. We know those times are difficult, but we appreciate your support of our communities. If you need to step outside for any conversation, you can do so, please. We want to make sure that we continue to conduct the meeting quietly. Thank you for that. We have several events coming up that my council colleagues have already mentioned. The Good Backpack Giveaway. Rocket Fever is happening this Saturday, August the 12th, begins at 10 a.m. And bring your children. These are the future engineers, the future scientists. And what great opportunity to continue to build and foster curiosity in our children. I know Ben is here, so Ben, you continue to do a phenomenal job with Columbia Memorial Space Center and all of the different programming. So we have, I will be there for Rocket Fever beginning at 10 a.m. We also have the Good Backpack Giveaway starting at 2 p.m. at Golden Park, followed by the Mayor's Movie Night at 6 p.m. So we have a busy Saturday ahead of us, but this really comes to show what a great community, what a great city we have. As we prepare our children, and again, we are completely different entities, the school district and the city, but as the 22,000 children go back to school in the city of Downey next week on Thursday, I do want to request additional patrols in our schools, particularly before school, at the school drop-off morning. I know that we're going to be facing lots of traffic coming up, and sometimes residents don't always adhere to the traffic limits, and we've had some near misses in some of the crosswalks in various neighborhoods. So if we can pay attention to that, and as a reminder to our residents, please drive slowly and carefully as we have our children back to school. And I want to wish all the families and the children starting school next week a happy school year. We have two more events that I would like to mention, and that is August 19th, Young Men Rise. There's still spots available for young men to attend a one-day workshop. And I know young men don't always feel inclined to attend these type of events unless they're sports or esports. But this workshop is really intended to boost emotional, mental, financial skills, business skills as well. I encourage you, parents, mentors, if you have children or young men in the ages of 6th grade up to 12th grade, please look at our website. There are many opportunities to sign up for Young Men Rise, August 19th at our public library. August 26th will be followed by Girls on Fire, the same programming we've offered in years past. And I also had an opportunity to visit with the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, and our county supervisor last week. She held a special dinner with mayors from across the region, and I had an opportunity to sit with her and discuss homelessness. And I know this continues to be a very hot topic for all of us. And we in the city of Downey have seen an uptick in transient activity. And I have to tell you that we will continue to have these conversations. It is time for the city to be thinking about a navigation center, a center where we have the resources and the wraparound, because it's not just about beds and food. The problem lies in drug addiction and mental problems. And I want you to know that as your mayor, I am taking very serious steps on addressing this situation. It's not easy, and it's not an easy approach, but do know that I am having these conversations at various levels, and we will be addressing this situation in the city of Downey. We cannot enforce no camping ordinances, no camping, because we don't have a no camping ordinance, because we don't have a navigation center. And there lies the problem. But many of you have emailed me, called me, to tell me how frustrated and how concerned you are with the rise of homeless encampments in various areas of our city. So I do want you to know that as a council, we are looking at a no camping ordinance, but we're also looking at a navigation center coming soon. A couple of things I would like to request of staff, and I think I've already addressed those with our city manager, the homeless situation outside of the city library, in the continuous cleaning of that area. I know that our volunteers and our children and our families visit our beautiful library, and as of late, we've seen an increase in transient activity, and that really impedes in our quality of life. Also, I do want to make everybody aware, and I would like to request for additional social media presence with the Quality Neighborhood Starts With You. I know we began maybe a couple months ago, and I want to let our residents know, while the city, we did approve adding additional code enforcement to the as a staffing. We were a little low on that, and we just approved that as part of the 23-24 budget. We will have code enforcement on weekends and in evenings soon, but I do want you to know that a quality neighborhood begins with each one of us. And this type of campaign will be, I would like to ask for it to be more prevalent and more continuous. And I know that it's up to all of us to have clean, well-kept yards and neighborhoods. That is all I have for today. Thank you for indulging me in such long commentary. At this point, we have a couple of presentations.
I'll second the mayor's request for particularly the homeless situation in front of the library. That's got to stop. If we know that the homeless people are coming to the front of the library, we need to figure out the way, because the children going to the library should not have to see that. So again, we will treat homeless people with dignity, but I don't want to see them in the library. We let a lady be out there with her vehicle for like months. It makes us look like we can't do anything for our community. It makes us look like we don't care. Thank you for bringing that up. I called that in last week. There was literally a shopping cart next to the front door of the library, unattended, with a bunch of stuff, as if like nobody saw it. Mm-hmm. So thank you for bringing that up. And also the social media, can we use that platform to inform our community of how to do simple things like, if you see graffiti, maybe you should call this number, right? Or if you see a shopping cart, why don't you call this number? Some people just don't use the app.
Thank you for that.
And also, I don't know was that all, Madam Mayor? Did you need a second for anything else?
I want to say that's exactly it. Aside from the app, we also need to, and this is another request, thank you for reminding me, that the app sometimes has glitches, and residents do say they are putting in the request through the app, but sometimes on the back end, those requests, either they're not being received or the app is glitching. So thank you for reminding me of that. But you were gonna say something else.
Just many of our residents still use the phone, particularly perhaps some of our older residents, they're not going to do an app, but I bet you they'll pick up the phone if they see something. If we could give them that phone number, so if we could make it real easy for them and use the social media avenues to do that.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I second that. There was a situation, and again, I know I'm supposed to turn it over to you, City Manager, for your comments, but with the senior living places that we have along, Brookshire, there's some senior assisted living places, and it appears that with some degree of frequency, people, seniors that may be moved in or out, more often out, there is furniture that is left out on the curb, and it remains there for days. But I think this is an issue more than anything with those assisted senior living facilities, and I think we need to communicate. We need to reach out to them.
I think our great company, Athens, should just figure out the route and send a truck as regularly as possible. I'm getting tired of calling about the furniture dumps that happen on Stewart and Gray and Bellflower. I mean, the staff is probably tired of me calling, so guess what? If you just send out a cart every week to pick it up, I won't have to call anybody. We just got to identify these hot spots and not wait to get it reported. We should be proactive. You know there's furniture dumping going on in Stewart and Gray between Lakewood and Patton Road. Why do I have to call every week? Just make it part of a regular route. These hot spots could be identified, should be identified, and we shouldn't put it on our residents or us to have to keep calling because there's a mattress there. Surely somebody on public staff and the city staff can see that and get it picked up. Let's be more proactive about that, please.
Thank you for that. I know these are hot issues for us, as our residents can see. City Manager, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. There was a request for a financial literacy workshop. Just needed a second. We're happy to look into that and see what we can provide something for our community. We have done
second.
things in the past.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy to provide an update on the fentanyl campaign and things that we're doing here at the city for that and the problem. Additional patrols, first day of school. I know the PD's already ramping up for that, and we'll make sure that we get those out there as well. Thanks, Mayor. Homeless at the library is something that we definitely are working on. There are a lot of complications with state and federal law as it relates to homelessness, but we are definitely making sure that we deal with those issues and try to provide assistance to anybody that's homeless, provide services, and try to help them with the hand up. Happy to look at the app to see how that's working out, what glitches are going on there. And I will report that we do collect hotspots for legal dumping in the community, and we are working with Athens to make sure that we have a campaign to go out through our community on a regular basis to pick up illegal dumping materials out there, absolutely. So we appreciate that, and we know that that's a concern. I do want to say a couple of pieces of good news that I wanted to share just real quick. Staff made me aware that our Downey Theater was selected as the winner for Best Place to See a Play or Musical by the LA Times, Best of the Southland. So it's great. Our team is doing a great job, as well as Dia de los Muertos, our event, was a finalist for the family-friendly attraction. So our programs are getting recognized. They're great things for our community, and we're happy and want to congratulate staff for their hard work as well. So that is all from me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, everybody. It really takes so many people, so many departments working together, and it is all of you that really make Downey shine and make us shine. So thank you. We have a couple of presentations, and I'm going to go downstairs to get those done. First, I have it's really my pleasure to give a certificate of recognition for the 2023 Congressional Art Competition winner, who I was really happy to be present, and this was some months ago. This is from Congressman Robert Garcia. There was an art contest competition for the congressional district. And it was really wonderful because on a Sunday, beautiful Sunday afternoon, all of the families from the various students from all the regions that submitted artwork were invited to attend a little reception, and as well as some of the elected officials. And wouldn't you believe that the top winners for this art competition were actually students from the city of Downey. And the first place winner, whose artwork is right now hanging in Congress, is actually Miss Grace Barrios. Would you please come up? She had, I wish I had a copy of her beautiful painting. How are you? It's so nice to see you. It was really beautiful. Would you tell us, Grace, well, let me first read you this. Grace Barrios, on behalf of the residents of Downey, congratulations on being honored as the 2023 Congressional Art Competition winner. Thank you, Grace, for your commitment to your community, given this 8th day of August. It was a beautiful painting. Would you like to tell the audience what that painting was? And I'm sorry we don't have it up to display even a copy of it, but if you can describe to the audience what it was. Yep, sure.
So I made a self-portrait of myself with acrylic paint. It was just to show my experience with school. I was surrounded with books and schoolwork, and it's really just to show that school can be really hard, you know, with all the hard honors classes, AP classes. It's just overloading work. And so with studying and with doing homework and with studying for finals, it's just really overloading. And so my mind just went blank. That's, yeah.
It was really beautiful. It was so colorful, and again, we're going to have to showcase it. I'm terribly sorry we don't have a copy of that, but again, we don't have it here because it's actually hanging in Congress. Oh, do you have it? You have a picture on your phone. I know I have a picture on my phone too. But and Grace, tell us how old, what grade you're on, and what high school you're from.
So I'm a junior in 11th grade at Downey High School.
So big round of applause, please. This is the pin, and this is the Mayor's Challenge coin. So I want to continue to challenge you to do great work as you begin a new school year. And the way we congratulations, Grace. And if family wants to come out also for a photo, please join us. Congratulations again. Oh, there it is. Isn't that a beautiful photo? Thank you for pulling that up. I felt terrible, Grace, that we couldn't, that we weren't looking at your photo, but at your acrylic. It was absolutely gorgeous, and thank you for that. We're certainly proud of the students and your efforts to continue to do great things. Well, every year on National Parents' Day, we have the distinct honor and pleasure to recognize parents in our community that have been doing really a phenomenal job. It takes a village. It takes a village, but it also starts at home. Just recently, the mayor of New York City addressed the crowd after an incident that occurred in Manhattan. I don't know how many of you watched the news some days ago. Some influencer was going to be giving away PlayStations. And apparently that little giveaway turned violent. There were just mobs and mobs of kids from every place that showed up at Union Square in Manhattan and really just turned that moment into something really scary for the people. And when the mayor of New York, who we had the pleasure of meeting when we were at Naleo at the conference some weeks ago, he said, yes, it's schools and it's social media, and we can all work together, but it begins at home. You know, we can all have an influence in our children and in people in the communities, and we better be mentors, right? If we don't have biological children, we have an opportunity to still be a blessing, and because it begins at home. And so I just want to recognize the following individuals for your commitment to your families. Congratulations on being honored as the 2023 Parents of the Year. Thank you for your commitment to your family and to the children of our community. The children that you are raising are individuals that we hope will continue to pass it forward, and that is, you know, integrity, ethics, and love and kindness in really serving others. And I would like to call to the podium Enrique Zarate, Frankie Zarate, and Diane Sozak.
I've been working with this committee of National Parents Day for about 16 years. And it's just such a joy to see these parents get recognized. But everybody should be up here, because if you're here, you're concerned about our city. And I love that thing that you said, that quality neighborhoods begin at home, and so do quality families, quality schools, you name it. It all begins at home. So I appreciate so much. And we do have Dr. Young Gooder. If she wants to come up, she can tell us a little bit about how this family has helped so much.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Christina Young-Goodner. I'm the junior high school assistant principal at Calvary Chapel Christian School of Downey. As an alumni from that school, having been there K-12 and now working in my 19th year there, it is a privilege and an honor to nominate the Zarate family. They have been at our school for 23 years. 23 years. They have had 3 outstanding children come through our private school, which, as you know, that does cost quite a bit of money and sacrifice for that private school Christian education. But not only the sacrifice of the money, but the time and the effort that you both have spent in raising 3 awesome, godly children that serve their community, from Sarah to David, and now our most recent 2023 graduate, Aaron. You guys have poured into your children and all of our Grizzlies just the characteristics we want to see our youth have today, of service, of kindness, of helping others. And I know, as a former student and now as an administrator, having involved parents makes a big difference. And the Zarates have served at every event imaginable every event, every musical I've hosted, and costume distributions, and ASB planning events, and cleanup, and tear down, and everything in between. We at schools can't do it without our wonderful parents, and I just want to honor the Zaratis for making a great impact on our school and my life. I got to have all 3 of their children in my choir, and it was such a tremendous blessing. So congratulations, Zarati family.
Hello, I'm Frankie. We just love Calvary Chapel Christian School, and we're so honored to have our children there under the direction of Dr. Goodner and all of the other staff. And yes, I let my husband say something.
She did it all. I get honorable mention. Great school, great administrators, and great city of Downey. Thank you for the award. Thank you.
These are pins for you, as well as the mayor's challenge coin for you to continue. We usually
Thank you.
continue to do great work.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless you.
Thank you.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
you can come over here in the front, please. And the children right next to them.
Where's the 3rd kid?
He's at work.
Dedicated. Dedicated.
Mr. Simons. Are we good? Did you get Julie? Thank you and congratulations to the awardees. At this time, we have one public hearing this evening, and it is a pilot program allowing the expansion of existing preferential parking districts. That the City Council conduct a public hearing concerning the creation of a pilot program to allow the expansion of existing preferential parking districts. To introduce ordinance number 23-1508, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Downey, amending section 3199.6 within Part 12, Chapter 1 of Article 3 of the Downey Municipal Code relating to residential permitted parking districts. And number 3, adopt resolution number 23-8184, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Downey expanding existing preferential parking districts on Corrigan Avenue and Buckle Street. The hour having arrived, the public hearing is now open. The time is 7:14. City Clerk Duarte, do you have proof of publication?
Yes, Mayor.
Can I have a motion and a second to receive and file the publication?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
The motion is approved unanimously.
City Manager, is there a staff report?
Yes, Mayor. Ed Norris, Deputy Director of Public Works, will provide the report.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo, council members, and City Manager Bradley, The item before you this evening is a follow-up to the City Council meeting of May 23rd, 2023, during which an administrative report was provided to the City Council on the feasibility of creating preferential parking zones. The residential neighborhood surrounded by Lakewood Boulevard to the west, Buckle Street to the north, Bellflower Boulevard to the east, and Stewart and Gray Road to the south was evaluated as the test case area for purposes of creating on-street parking relief for the residents on the west side of the 11,700 block of Bellflower Boulevard who had become impacted due to the recent establishment of preferential parking districts on the 11,700 to 11,800 blocks of Corrigan Avenue, as well as the 9,010 to 9,060 block of Buckle Street, as well as the fact that the west side of the 11,700 block of Bellflower Boulevard currently lacks on-street parking due to insufficient street width. As a result, the City Council directed staff to pursue the expansion of the existing preferential parking districts on the 11,700 to 800 block of Corrigan Avenue to include the 3 single-family residential properties located at 11751 and 11755 Bellflower Boulevard and 9119 Stewart and Gray Road, and the expansion of the existing preferential parking district on the 9,010 to 9,060 block of Buckle Street to include 4 single-family residential properties located at 11,715, 719, 723, and 729 Bellflower Boulevard. And as you can see on the map, the 7 properties on the west side of Bellflower Boulevard that have been absorbed by the preferential parking districts or consolidated into the preferential parking districts on Corrigan Avenue, which is the green district, and Buckle Street, which is the blue colored district. Given that the city's preferential parking ordinance in section 3199.6 of the Downey Municipal Code currently has no provision for the expansion of existing preferential parking districts as such, an amendment to said section of the Downey Municipal Code will be necessary in order to allow such expansions. Staff has since met with the city attorney to determine the legal requirements necessary to expand existing preferential parking districts to include contiguous streets, which have also become parking impacted due to on-street parking overflow from other nearby uses. Ordinance number 23-1508, which is being introduced this evening, officially amends the Downey Municipal Code, section 3199.6, by creating a pilot program to allow the expansion of existing preferential parking districts to include contiguous streets also affected by the overflow of on-street parking through the adoption of a resolution provided the following findings can be made. First of all, on-street parking relief is needed for inhabitants of such residential neighborhoods which have become impacted due to overflow parking from nearby uses. And secondly, the existing preferential parking district has sufficient parking capacity to include the parking demand from additional single-family residential properties. Based on staff's evaluation of the current parking conditions on the west side of the 11,700 block of Bellflower Boulevard, the 11,700 to 800 blocks of Corrigan Avenue, and the 9,010 to 9,060 block of Buckle Street, the residents of the subject block of Bellflower Boulevard are being adversely affected due to the recent establishment of the preferential parking districts on the aforementioned blocks of Corrigan Avenue and Buckle Street, compounded by the lack of on-street parking along the west side of the 11,700 block of Bellflower Boulevard. In addition, based on the total number of on-street parking spaces and the number of preferential parking permits sold to date in the current fiscal year to residents on the 11,700 to 800 blocks of Corrigan Avenue and the 9,010 to 60 block of Buckle Street, staff confirmed parking availability of up to 11 and 24 parking spaces on Corrigan Avenue and Buckle Street, respectively, for the Bellflower Boulevard residents. With the adoption of resolution number 23-8184, which will take effect upon the adoption and effective date of ordinance number 23-1508, the Corrigan Avenue and Buckle Street preferential parking districts will be officially expanded to include the 7 single-family residential properties on Bellflower Boulevard, and residents of Bellflower Boulevard will be entitled to the same privileges and be subject to the same requirements as all other properties within the existing preferential parking districts on Corrigan Avenue and Buckle Street. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions. Also, there are residents here tonight who may wish to comment on this item.
Thank you, Ed. I think one of the questions, and I know it's in the staff report, and I've highlighted it myself, but for purposes of making this on the record, would you let the residents know that this parking is for single-family residential properties, correct?
Yes.
It will not include, this preferential parking will not include the apartment buildings that are along that segment of Bellflower Boulevard, because again, I received several emails and there was perhaps a misunderstanding from some residents that believed that this preferential parking was to include apartment dwellings.
No, it is single-family residential properties only.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure that our residents fully know and understand. And this is a pilot program.
That's correct.
Council members, anybody have any questions or additional thoughts?
How long is the pilot program for? Mr. Norris?
Well, there's no hard and fast deadline per se, although the city traffic engineer, myself, will have to, in 18 months after the program begins, go back and evaluate it to evaluate its effectiveness to determine if the pilot program should continue.
Thank you.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Very thorough presentation. Thank you, Mr. Norris. Couple questions. The southwest corner of Buckles and Bellflower, is that commercial? It's not highlighted green.
No, that's a multifamily apartment building.
Got it. And how about those 3 parcels between 11729 and 11751?
Saying those are apartment buildings.
Thank you. No further questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. If there's no additional questions from my council colleagues, I will now open this item for public comment. Did we receive any written correspondence, City Clerk, regarding this item?
We did not, Mayor.
Okay, members of the audience wishing to address the City Council regarding this public hearing only may come up once your number is called. These are the purple cards. Do we have any speakers?
We have a total of 7 speakers.
I'm going to go ahead and give 2 minutes for this public hearing. Thank you.
Of only 7 speakers, and you're cutting down the time, huh? Okay, a real daughter of Fidel, no doubt about it. Yes, we do need parking, preferential parking, which means we need fewer cars. Except if you're going to exempt the apartments, then they're going to park all their cars. They're going to cram all kinds of people in each apartment. They're going to park all over the street. And the residents are going to have to pay for their permits. They want fewer cars on their block. That's what this is all about. I don't normally suggest of growing government, especially some programs that you folks want to do, because you're not trustworthy to run any program, not in this town, not at the federal level, not at the state level, not at the county level. and not at the city level. You are incapable of running anything properly the way it should be run. All you do is expand government and the scope of bureaucracy. That's all you do. And you're going to throw money at it, just like you're going to do the homeless stuff. But I want to say there is an incident of parking over on Stamps and Telegraph. People were parking right up into the intersection. It was dangerous. It was dangerous for drivers. It was dangerous for pedestrians, collisions, people getting hit. But the city, the Public Works, I'd like to thank them for coming out and painting those curbs red. It has opened it up where people can see now, and they feel confident when they pull out into that intersection. They can see cars coming, and all you had to do was paint the curb red. That's it. That's it. Now there's no parking on those corners. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 2 may come up.
I'm also frustrated. I'm a resident on Buckles, 9042 Buckles. However, I am not a resident of 9042 Buckles because Mr. Norris and his team decided I live on Corrigan in my garage. My address is 9042. I pay my taxes at 9042. I have everything delivered at my front door, and yet because of a Googled picture being pixelated, I now live on Corrigan. I can't park in front of my house. They will not sell me a permit for my house. It's ridiculous. We had to go through hoops. We had to get everyone to sign stating that we want to have preferential parking. Cool, we did it. We had 2 meetings we had to go to talk about it. Cool, I was the one who was starting the petition to have the preferential parking on Buckles, and went through 2 meetings. Was called by his staff to show up to the meeting to talk to make sure I got it. And they took us off. My house is taken off as Buckles Street to be added to Corrigan. I have 2 parents who are disabled, and they're like, oh, well, there's no promise of you getting parking in front of your house anyway. No, but that would have helped. And now with this added, how many cars are going to be in our corner where we can't park because open it up to Rayburn, open it up to Volte. If you're going to have a pilot program, open up our entire small little island of streets. Don't just make Buckles and Corrigan your drop-off point. Open it up for everyone. It's ridiculous. I'm so frustrated at Mr. Norris. He doesn't answer his calls. He doesn't answer emails. It's frustrating, and I'm sure you can tell. I am frustrated as all because nothing is done with him, and he wants to add more cars to us. Great.
Madam Mayor, would it be possible to have the picture put back on there while we hear the comments?
Yes.
Just so we can get our bearings, that diagram? Thank you.
We will have somebody reach out to you.
What was the address the gentleman said?
9042.
It's not represented on the map.
9042
Yes,
Street?
it is.
Yeah, it's not represented.
9042.
Thank you.
It's in the corner, Corrigan and Buckles.
It's between Volte and...
Sorry, we can't allow you to yell from the seat. Okay, speaker number 3 may come up.
Corrigan.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Hernandez. I live on Corrigan Avenue. Myself and my husband are the ones who, started the petition for Corrigan to be preferential parking. So we went through that long process. We finally, became permitted parking. But we haven't found relief in parking because we still get people who are non-residents do not pay for the permits to park on our block. Myself, my husband, he is in law enforcement. He gets off late in the morning. He does have a sticker, but it doesn't mean he has a parking because we do have people who park that do not purchase our sticker for the block that we live on. So here you're saying that you're proposing a pilot program for the west side of Bellflower for the single-family residents. But like I mentioned, we haven't found relief ourselves because we still struggle with this parking issue. I'm asking, I know that the pilot program, is that the only solution we have? As I'm asking, is that the only solution that we can come up with? I feel like there's, empty slots on Downey Landing. People, we get RVs parked there for weeks and weeks and weeks. Couldn't that be opened up for behind 24-Hour Fitness? There's empty land there. Can that be possibly, some parking for people who do live on Bellflower, all the apartments? Maybe they can find relief as well. But like I said, we haven't found relief. We went through this extensive petition to be able to be permitted parking. We purchased our permits, but like I mentioned, we don't necessarily have a spot to park on because it's just overcrowded. From Buckles to Stewart and Gray, we're just overcrowded. We also get people that park on the curbs, blocking the ramps for disabled people.
Thank you for that. And when just for purposes of stating on the record in our residents, when you come up and speak and you're asking me questions, this is not a time for me to dialogue with you. This is called public comment, and it is for you to talk to us. So I'm really not supposed to be engaging in a conversation with you. We are taking notes as public comment goes on, and I see and we sense your frustration and your anger. I know we have staff that will be reaching out to you. Thank you. Speaker number 4.
In the specific parking for permits, I live on Corrigan, and we still haven't received much relief from blocking the other ones on there. They still park there, and there's times they park there and they leave it for days, and they don't get a ticket. So I don't see adding people is going to make the street any better. So why would we have permit parking if you're going to allow the people back there to where we can't park on our own street? That's it.
Thank you. Definitely is an issue of enforcement and have code enforcement.
My name's Kendra. I also live on Corrigan, and I get a little
you.
nervous, so I apologize up front for that. We did go through a lot of work, and I'm looking at the maps, and I can understand the single-family homes that are on Bellflower that I have no idea where they used to park, if they are used to parking on Corrigan or not, but we don't have relief yet. We do have people who violate the permit, obviously. I now personally have 4 people. I have 2 kids that have driver's license now. So, my driveway is not enough for all of that. And I'm not certain if there was a study done of who was parking on the street with their permits. I bought all mine, you know what I mean, that I could have. But my kids are going to be on that street trying to find parking now because that's the only place for them to park. And there's other people that have kids that are also aging up into that. So 18 months later, when it's determined whether or not this possibly would work or not work. And I don't know if people that bought the permit in June, because we've actually only had this for, I think, a little over a year, maybe. I don't remember exactly when we actually finally got the first permit last year, and then we had to renew this year, but it was only part of the year. Maybe they didn't recognize that, it expired and maybe you haven't been parking on your street right now or you didn't think you needed to, but maybe they didn't necessarily realize, okay, you only bought 1 permit this year, you bought 2 last year, and because of that, now we're going to have additional people trying to park on the street. So I don't know how much less people bought permits renewing it this year. And I do know that we got our notice of a reminder to renew. I think it was the day before it was technically due, and I know there was a grace period given when I came in that day. I got it, and there was a grace period given. But again, I don't know how much on Corrigan or even at this point Buckles were aware that if you don't buy it every time, you're going to lose it. And I can't afford to lose it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and sharing. Good evening, number 6.
Number 6.
Hello.
I live in Oregon since 1995 and faithfully pay my property taxes twice a year. That's a lot of money. And we don't have relief about parking yet. We, for the last 10 years, I and my Oregon neighbors have been prisoners. We could not go out to eat, not to the market, not to a party because we have to hurry home from work to park. That is not a way to live. We had this in place only for the last few months, and it's not 100% yet because people don't respect what we have. In addition to that, one of the neighbors who lives on Bellflower personally threatened my husband. I believe I emailed already somebody from the city about who that person is. So I fear for my safety and my husband's safety. So we and my Oregon neighbors, there's not enough parking space in there to have other people come. Solutions that the city can do. Build a lot for the other neighbors, not on Oregon Street. Have their landlords, the people who want to park on the street, it's not a family resident, there are apartments. So the landlord should do like a control to see how many people are there. Have the city of Downey create a space on Downey Landing and sell them permits, but not on Oregon. Because again, right, there's a safety issue for me and for my family. And once again, I have been prisoner of my own home for the last 10 years because there's not enough space on Oregon for the Oregon residents and more people. There's not enough space for that. I know I'm going fast because of the timing. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaker number 7 may come up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Good evening.
Council people. I don't want to disrespect my fellow neighbors, but I live on Bellflower, and every single day, with all the respect, I park towards Student Gray, and every single night, I have to go and drive my vehicle back to my lawn, and there's just a handful of cars on that street. I don't want to, disrespect anybody, but I've been seeing these. There's plenty of space in the night. There's 3-5 cars along the street, and I guess they love that. They want to see the street clean. There's no vehicles anywhere, but I'm not asking the city for privileges. I'm not here to ask the city for special attention to my situation. I just want peace of mind as well as anybody in the community. I just want to go home and be able to park my car somewhere safe and go to bed. Not worry in the middle of the night, oh, I left my car on social street, I'm going to get a ticket, which I have had previously happen. And this is a nightmare. Every single night I got to go move my car from wherever I park and bring it to park it on my lawn because I'm literally trapped. I'm literally trapped in their situation that they mentioned it. All the respect, but I'm a peaceful person. I don't, I got a Christian background, which I respect everybody. I'm a family person. I have no drug addictions, drinking, none of that. And top of that, just a quick to mention, this place is gonna be open on Firestone Boulevard, this cantina place, which is gonna add more criminal to our city, more police department running back and forward. And so that's not what the city needs. The city needs peace of mind and tranquility in our streets. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we have any additional speakers? Yes, you may come up, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Edwin. I actually live at 9067 Buckle Street, which is the last residential house on Buckles before you get to Woodruff. we applied for our permanent parking. We got our permits. We still haven't gotten our signage up, and it's been, some time already. So literally every night when I get home, when my mother-in-law gets home, we have no parking. We circle around, and there's no parking. And it's mainly because of the apartments. They come and they leave their cars there for days on end, 5 days. I have pictures of cars that have been there almost, a whole week, from actual 7 days. The whole pilot program, I'm not really too happy about, but I understand that you guys want to do that. The resident neighbor over here says, there's a couple houses that on Woodruff Bellflower, that they don't have parking. But again, they're the ones who purchased that property. They knew what they were getting themselves into. So I want something done that's going to benefit our street. They knew what they were getting themselves into when they bought that property. Now, as far as, I just want to know why, or essentially why it's taking so long. And the people on Corrigan, I understand them too, because all the apartment people come by and park on the curb, and they don't leave. So whether it's having to call code enforcement or whoever we need to call, nothing ever happens. So what's the real reason behind, having a permitted parking when nothing's going to be done about it? And again, we haven't had our signage put up, so we haven't seen any relief.
Thank you for that. Do we have any other speakers wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to close public comment on this public hearing. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote. Actually, no vote required, so ordered by the mayor. At this time, I will, if there's any comments from my council colleagues, I would like to comment regarding what we've heard from our residents. Certainly, it appears there is a lack of enforcement in those streets. And we have to remember, we are community, and we have to, my concern here, and this is something that I would like to ask, staff, we are dealing with some apartment dwellings, some apartment complexes that potentially are the culprits. And again, to clarify for the residents, these preferential parking permits would be given to single family, they would qualify for single family dwellings. You would not be able to qualify or pay if you live in the apartment. But having said that, I see the map. I see there's some apartment complexes there. I do feel for the individuals along Bellflower Boulevard, those 4 single family dwellings. And we really, we have to live together. We have to, in many of our neighborhoods, we've been living 15, 20, 30 years. And it's a wonderful thing to live in community, and look out for each other and take care of each other. This is what has made this city what it is today, the aspirational city it is today. And I really feel for the residents. My comment is we need to do a better job from a city perspective at enforcement. We need to ensure that those that are parking where they're supposed to be parking have those permits. And if they don't have those permits, then, those tickets need to be handed out. I think that we need to be able to, I realize again, when this community was established. I know we are going to be celebrating in October 150 years since John Gailey Downey, our founder, founded this city. It was incorporated 67 years ago, going to be 68 years. And these dwellings, when they were built, Downey was a different city. We continue to see population growth, and many of you are completely right. Those of us that have young kids of driving age, we bought our homes and there were only 2 cars. Now some of us that have multiple children at home, college age or high school age, our homes have become from 2 cars to 4 cars. And so again, we continue to see the growth. 2 things that I would like to ask staff, and this is part of our conversation, and council colleagues, please, you can comment after me. We need to take a look at those apartments that are along Bellflower Boulevard. Right there, we see it on the screen. There's one to the north of Buckles, and there's certainly another one right there in the corner of Buckles and Bellflower. And we need to also address that, because if the individuals that started all of this on Corrigan haven't seen any relief, then that's a problem. And at the same time, I do want for the people that live for those 4 single dwelling family homes on Bellflower Boulevard to be able to have parking. And I think we can do that. We can work with each other. But one of you mentioned there are cars that don't move there for days. So if they don't belong in that street, then we need to figure out. Council colleagues, again, there are no easy answers, and but I think we need to dig a little deeper and make sure that those apartment dwellings are doing their part. Maybe there's a different solution there, but I want to make sure that we are prioritizing the residents within this neighborhood. We've discussed it before, and I know that there is a liability issues with the landing. I know Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo, myself, former mayor, we've been discussing utilizing the landing because as additional parking, and paying for that because it sits vacant overnight, and that's what we need. We need that, but unfortunately, we haven't gotten anywhere with property management, and you can't force the owners of that property to rent or do something with the city. At this point, I know there is that perfect solution per se, but I know that liability is a big concern for the property owners of the landing space. That I know that would be a great solution for us, but we've tried, and unless staff tells us otherwise, you can't force somebody into something that they don't want to do.
But I think with your persuasive skills, Madam Mayor, we're not going to give up on this. I would like for 2 of us to meet with the owners of this location. I would like a face-to-face with 2 council members. Let's see if they give us the time of day, and let's talk to them. We need to work around this. Let's not give up yet. I think we should fight a little more for our residents. We know that the landing is a solution. I would like for 2 of us to meet with these owners.
And yes, and I know that, and I'm happy. I'm more than happy to meet with them. I see the anger, and I see the frustration, and if I were in your shoes, I would be equally angry and equally frustrated, if not more, because you're coming home. You shouldn't feel you're hostage. You should be able to go to the grocery store or a function, and not worry that when you come home late at night, you're not going to find parking close to your residence. That's not okay. But if we, I think the liability issue, if then the city has to.
Yep. you elected us to find solutions, and I hope, I like somebody who said we're not at 100 yet. We're probably never going to get to 100. I want to be honest with you. But if we could get to 75, right? If we could get to 80 or 85, that's going to be a big win for us. So we're going to continue to work on this. We do have some relief coming. We are going to add additional parking spaces along the south side of this boundary of this preferential parking district, all along Stewart and Gray. We're hoping, how many parking spots are we going to get out of this? Anybody know? 20?
Supposed to get 35 in total.
Okay, there is some relief coming. Work with us. We know we're slow. That's one of the reasons why I ran. It is so frustrating why this is taking so long. When I hear that there's no signage yet, right? To let people know not to park there, that bothers me. We're gonna work on that to get the signage out there. We're gonna work on the enforcement. I would hate to have to use police time to give out parking tickets. I have a question. Is that something code enforcement can do? Parking tickets?
Code enforcement.
Okay, we don't want to use your police time for parking tickets. I realize that, even though they do give out some parking sometimes. And look, if I see a car that's there more than 48 hours, I consider abandoned and I call it in. And I think they have to wait 72 hours.
72.
And after those 72, I'm calling back. And if you're doing that and it's not happening in 72 hours, will you email me, please? I want to know where this car is that's been sitting there for weeks. mtrujillo@downeyca.org. But we do need you to help us. Call it in, and if we're not out there to ticket that car in 72 hours, let me know. So bear with us. We hear you. We're trying to find solutions. We're going to go back to the Downey Landing property owners. We're going to add some parking spots. We're working on it. But for the interim, I am hard pressed to not give the residents on Bellflower relief. So I am hard pressed to do that. Please understand, but we're working on it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes,
Let me
Councilmember.
follow up on him because I have spoken with the residents. Let me bring you up to date. Corrigan was officially given permit on September 15th, 2022. And Buckles, we just did on May 23rd, 2023. Now, according to the reports, I pulled the reports out. Buckles reported when they came to council a few months ago that of the people that were parking on their street were non-residents. We open it up and those non-residents or whoever it is will come into that area. And going back to Corrigan, I pulled the Corrigan report back in September 15, 2022. 72% were non-residents of the area, not just the streets, the area. They were coming in from different streets, even different cities. I followed up with an FBI report. About 28% of them came from Bell or Bell Gardens. And when you open it up like this is what the residents told me 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. If we open it up, we're opening it up to trash in our neighborhood because this is what they went through. Drug needles thrown throughout, whether it's insulin or whatever. Parking over the driveway, which happens, and law enforcement's kind of iffy if it's over the driveway. Drinking, eating, loud music, different things going early into the morning. Moving their trash cans on trash day so they can get a parking spot. These are done by non-residents in the area. Lewd acts inside the cars after midnight. Parking more than 72 hours, which we just addressed. There's a game that people play. I can park in front of anybody's neighborhood for 365 days if I move my car every six days. Just bring a new car in, park it there, and leave with the other one. This is a game that's been done for about 10 years in Downey. And we haven't addressed the handicap. There's a handicapped person on every one of those blocks. We take their spot away, they have no way to park in front of their residence. And I know there's a few of them that live on the corner there. If you take that corner spot away by opening it up, then they got nowhere for a handicapped person to park. The last thing would be the increase to robberies and burglaries. You get suspicious characters that you do not know in your neighborhood. They start casing the neighborhood, and because you don't know who they are, there's an increased risk to robberies and burglaries. And this has happened not only in this area, but the other streets as well. The report is kind of vague. They say there's 42 spots available on Buckles. Well, this is less than, I had an engineering group go out there. This is less than 400 feet. 400 feet with 42 spots doesn't give you a lot of space. Both sides of the road. I don't know if there's really 42. If I had an SUV, if I had a Silverado, that's going to take up at least 2 spots. So I don't know that there's really 42 spots there. There's supposed to be 36 spots on Corrigan. Same issue there. The residents that spoke, they still don't have it. We've had complaints in the past, people parking in their lawn because of the 2 a.m. I even suggested a number of times opening it up to 6 p.m. so that the residents can park there and not let others get into the area. If we open it up just like this, somebody can actually get a permit and park in front of a home for weeks. Just move one car in and the other car out. There are a lot of apartment buildings. I know we're talking to the residents that some of the apartment tenants have bought or rent homes in areas. So they're taking up spots there just to fill a parking space. One thing in District 4 that was relieved, and you may not know this, the apartment units to the east over by Champion Dodge, there's a lot of apartments in that area. The parks were opened up for parking to relieve the parking area. Here, the nearest park would be Independence. It's a drive, it's a distance, but you would have to have a friend drop you off, pick you up, and you're talking about midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's
It's quite a ways.
That's a lot of issues that we have to deal with if we open it up.
Thank you, Councilmember Horn.
Sure.
Councilmember Sosa, you had a question.
Yeah, I have 2 quick questions. Do we have any permit-only parking signs out there? And the second question is, what exactly are we currently doing for enforcement in that area?
I'll ask Mr. Norris to come up and answer those questions, please.
On Buckle Street, the city's preferential parking program requires that 50% of the residential properties purchase permits before the signs will be installed. So it could be that the 50% mark hasn't yet been met on Buckle Street. And to address the enforcement issue, I believe that the chief could answer that better than I could, but I know since Corrigan is in effect between 2 to 6 a.m., parking enforcement isn't patrolling the streets, so believe regular patrol units have to be called in to cite the vehicles.
That's correct. We do not currently have parking enforcement people scheduled during those hours, so that would fall to our regularly scheduled police officers who are also answering calls for service. So parking enforcement issues would be prioritized. If there are particular problems, I would encourage our residents to call us, and we will get out there and check on them just as quickly as we can and issue citations as appropriate.
However, I will add, Mayor, that, and Council, that we will continue. Obviously, on a day, any given day, that might be difficult to get to a certain spot, but we will make sure that we can provide some priority enforcement in this area. I'm hearing from the community that there's a need to be out on these streets to make sure that enforcement is actually taking place. We hear that, and we'll make sure that we put an emphasis on that here in this area to make sure we take care of some of the issues that are here right now.
Thank you. Thank you, City Manager Bradley, and Ed, thank you for that. And again, I would like to request for the signage to be put up as quickly as we can get it put up, because if people are not aware, and again that there's issues that are not being addressed in terms of preferential parking, so.
We'll take care of that, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion in a second to introduce ordinance number 23-1508 and adopt resolution number 23-8184.
So moved.
Mayor, real quick, if I could just get some direction. Did you want us to come back with the ad hoc committee recommendation? It's not currently on the agenda, but I did hear there was a request to have 2 members of the council.
Yes, please, so that we can once again reach out to the landing ownership and try to look in ways to have an area there utilized for parking.
I want a meeting with these people. If they're gonna say no, I want one of us to be there and they can say no to us. We're supposed to be good neighbors. So I want to know why they won't work with us. If it's a liability issue, it's called insurance. We buy it. So let's get a face-to-face with these people. I don't know who they are, but I would like to take it at that level. Hopefully, you all will support me in that.
How about, yes, I will, I nominate MPT Trujillo
Actually, I
and
think we have to bring
myself.
it back, I think, because it's not on the agenda. But if I get a motion, add that to the motion, to bring
Yes,
that back, and
second.
we'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, there is a motion on the floor. I will second that to introduce the ordinance number 23-1508 and adopt resolution number 23-8184. Please vote.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Horn voting no.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will take public comment on agenda, consent, and non-agenda items. If you didn't receive a number card and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room to be issued a number card. These cards are green. And once again, I would like to remind members of the audience that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of this business meeting. Copies of the meeting rules are located in the back of the chambers. Members of the audience and speakers who violate these rules and cause a disruption will receive one warning and then may be removed from the meeting. Violations of the rules of decorum for council meetings may also result in an administrative fine under the municipal code or citation for a misdemeanor under Penal Code Section 403. The City Council acknowledges the right of the public to address issues that are within this city's jurisdiction and invites the public to do so during the City Council meeting. However, this right must be balanced with the need of the City Council to conduct the public business in a fair and efficient manner, free from disruption or disturbance. We expect that everyone who participates in this evening's meeting, from the members of the council here on the dais to staff to the members of the public in attendance, do so with respect and dignity. Please refrain from using profanity, name-calling, or behaving in a way that disrupts this meeting. Yelling, whistling, booing, screaming, and any other outburst that disturbs or disrupts this meeting, any conduct that interferes with or disrupts persons who are addressing the City Council, any conduct that interferes with or disrupts council members while they are speaking, and any other conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of this business meeting. I remind speakers that your comments must be addressed to me directly and not to any other council member, city staff, or the audience. City Clerk, did we receive any written correspondence regarding today's agenda items?
We did not, Mayor.
Okay, how many speakers do we have?
6 at this moment.
Thank you. At this time, I will have speaker number 1 come up for 2 minutes.
All right, reduction of our time, 2 minutes. Daughter of Fidel, mini petty tyrant, that's what we got here. This seems like, back to the parking issue, it seems like a cultural thing. In the single-family dwellings, you can still see 7 and 8 cars in one house. I find it hard to believe that they're all insured and licensed, you know. And it's just something that it's been brought in, and it comes into Downey, and it causes a problem. But it seems to be a cultural thing where some people think that keeping 7 to 8 cars with only 3 or 4 drivers is okay. It's a symbol of wealth, I guess. I don't know. I would like to bring up the oath of allegiance, though. Just a little bit of a segue, but go back to this. The oath of allegiance, when you swear allegiance to the United States and become a citizen, says that I do solemnly swear that absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince or potentate, state or sovereignty of whom or which I have beforehand been a subject or citizen. So you don't come here when you're sworn in and say, I'm going to bring my garbage, my inferior culture to the American culture. You're giving that all up. You don't arrogantly come up here and say, I have 2 citizenships, and that makes me a little bit stronger. No, you cut it down by 50%. Now, if you were a hillbilly back in the old South, what you did with your old cars, you threw them out back and you used them for parts and you kept them off the street. But here they put them on the street. I think there's a change in that culture that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Speaker number 2 may come up. Good evening.
She secretly read the Bible. In her country, it's a crime for a Muslim to convert to Christianity. She became convinced Jesus is Lord and confessed her faith in him. She recalls, "My father beat me so bad that I couldn't move. He called the police and told them that I had renounced Islam and became an infidel. I was arrested and taken to an underground security facility. I was interrogated, tortured, manhandled, and raped. When they released me, they warned, 'Shut up and don't talk about Christianity again.' Islamic radicals desire to bring Sharia law to America. If they succeed, this will be the fate of your daughters. To buy Bibles in over 500 languages, visit BibleInMyLanguage.com. Jesus said to his disciples, 'Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you.'"
Thank you for that. Speaker number 3 may come up. Good evening.
Lee Squire, City of Downey, member Central. Downey is also a member of Central Basin Municipal Water District, Vietnam Veterans of Downey, Mayor, City Council, water rate payers, and we the people. Subject, Central Basin Municipal Water District, fraud and deceit and dishonesty. Also reporting the ongoing verbal abuses of board members Leticia Vasquez Wilson and Martha Camacho Rodriguez. Martha represents the people and the voters of Downey. The current general manager, Alex Rojas, is being criminally prosecuted for 18 criminal counts, along with a person named Luis Rojas, also known as Delterra. Alex Rojas was the former superintendent of Bassett Unified School District and is being accused of money laundering of $1.8 million to Delterra. Because of a lawsuit filed by elected board member Leticia Vasquez Wilson, it has exposed a company that is so-called Capstone. Capstone was used to launder the services of the employees of Delterra illegally into Central Basin and to be funded by same. Board member President Chacon has attempted to censor free speech of Leticia Vasquez Wilson, Martha Camacho Rodriguez, and a member of the public for raising criminal counts against General Manager Rojas. Leticia Vasquez Wilson has now won her motion for preliminary injunction, and the judge ruled in favor of violations of her First Amendment freedoms, which circumvented and supersede the abuses of Chacon. Chacon has still refused to report the criminal referral of Capstone to the LADA Public Integrity Unit. I've attached the preliminary injunction, and I am sorry to say that I do not tolerate the political cowardice of Chacon of the Central Basin Water District. Thank you, and God bless my military and my veterans. God bless my law enforcement, and God bless America. Thank you. Here's a copy of the injunction and my comments.
Thank you. Next speaker may come up. Speaker number 4. Speaker number 5. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Bradley and staff. I want to follow up, Mayor, on your earlier council comments with regards to what's happening. Today, we see that in terms of what's happening, well, you know more than I do that the main purpose of the council is to provide protection to citizens. And with that in mind, a lot of that protection comes from the policies of the council, as well as the support you give to the police department. You're well aware that many cities in our country have very poor or poorer protection because of the policies of the council and maybe lack of funds to the police department. Well, on this particular issue, I want to compliment the previous Downey Council people, as well as the current council, for supporting the police department and making our community a safer place to live in. Remember, if we don't fight crime, crime will bite us. Mm-hmm. This ends my comments. I yield my remaining time back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lacey. Speaker number 6. Good evening.
Hello, Mayor Frometa, council members, and staff. When I was going within the District 1 to complete my nomination paper, I had a few requests that some of the citizens wanted me to present to you today. So there's a married couple, an elderly couple that attends the Church of Christ at 8321 Imperial Highway. And they're a great couple, and they've been there for quite some time at that parish. And they say that there's a lot of vandalism that occurs there. A broken window, there's a transient that sleeps out in front and then trespasses that specific property. And they say that it's been getting worse. So they wanted a 6-foot wrought iron fence, but apparently the city hasn't been able to grant that to them. So I think at the very least, we could have police officers being very vigilant and observant of that area, if we can keep our eyes open for that, because it's their church. Then also an issue of illegal vendors. I think that needs to come to a halt very quickly. My parents, my dad and my mom, as well as my grandparents, opened up 2 supermarkets, full-service markets, called El Ranchito Markets in Pomona and Hollywood. They did it the right way, law-abiding citizens. So it's not fair and it's not legal for illegal vendors to set up shop on sidewalks, point blank. Also, there's on Brookshire and Imperial, one of the residents mentioned that there's street racing going on within Brookshire. So they wanted me to address that tonight, if we could be vigilant and observant of that as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casa.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other speakers? Speaker number 7? No? I will make a motion to close public comment. Can I get a second? Second. So ordered by the mayor. Now is the time for consent calendar items. Are there any council members that would like to remove or abstain from an item?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have to recuse myself from item number 13, as I own property or live near this location.
Okay, item number 13, MPT. Anyone else? Okay, I'll make a motion. Can I get a second to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Yes, Councilmember.
I do have a
Sosa.
question on item 11.
So you want to pull number 11, and why don't we vote on the rest of consent and pull number 11?
Do we have to pull 11 if I have a question?
Yes.
Oh. No, you don't have to pull it.
Okay. You sure about that? We can pull it if you like.
I'm not sure if it's necessary to pull it. I just have questions. It's not necessary to pull it.
Okay. Can I get a second for consent calendar?
Second.
Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
Tim?
colleague, Mr.
Okay,
Moore, seconded.
okay. Please vote.
The consent calendar is approved with Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo abstaining from item number 13.
Okay, thank you for that. There is one administrative report this evening, that is item number 16, the status update on the implementation of a citywide fiber optic network system. That the City Council receive and file a status update on the implementation of a citywide fiber optic network system with Sci-Fi Networks Downey LLC. And City Manager Bradley, I see there's a report.
Director Baumgartner will provide the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I just want to present, back in our budget workshop session on June 8th, it was requested by the council to provide an update on the implementation of the citywide fiber optic network. So I did have a chance to review the development agreement, and I'm pleased to present an update on where things stand with that implementation. So tonight is a receive and file the status of the update on the citywide fiber optic network, and wanted to provide a little bit of background. So this has been an ongoing strategic council for the last couple of years of establishing this fiber optic network, providing inexpensive and high-speed access throughout the city Currently, most of our properties in the city do not have, both commercial and residential, do not have access to reliable high-speed internet. In 2021, staff met with a number of the internet service providers who provide service throughout the city to determine what their plans were on expanding their own network. There are certain areas in town where there were some fiber optic areas, infrastructure in place, but pretty sporadic. And in talking with them and getting a sense of their plans, staff was able to determine it was going to take quite a while to be able to get something that was far-reaching across the city. At that time, staff met with Sci-Fi Networks, who are doing a number of these implementations across the area, including they are actually working on, at the same level, about the same point as City of Downey, they are working with the City of Linwood and City of Pico Rivera. And so staff spent 6 months negotiating a development agreement, brought that back to City Council on January 22nd to adopt this agreement, and just wanted to give you some of those details of the agreement. This is essentially providing reliable access across the city, 450 miles of cable, the 42 cabinets, and one central terminal that will basically provide access across the city. This agreement does not prevent other ISPs from expanding their networks, so anybody else that's in town, it does not, it still encourages competition and keeping the pricing down. And importantly, as we've stated, there will be a lateral literally taking to each property in town as part of this project. This is done through a process called microtrenching, and this detail here is to show that essentially there's about a 2-inch wide, 12-inch deep trench that's cut along the curb line between the road and the curb. The microduct is installed, and then it's backfilled up to the surface once that's completed. And these next few photos just kind of explain sort of the process, how they're able to quickly go through. There's the micro-trenching train that includes the trencher that comes along the curb line. There's a spotter who directs them, and then the vacuum trucks that is cleaning up the spoils of the trench, the dirt that's kicked up during that process. Typical production in a residential area, it's actually about a 1/4 mile per day, but in the arterial roads, it's up to a 1/2 mile of trenching per day. Following that trenching, there's the microduct installation, and the typical size of that duct is anywhere from 6 millimeters to 16 millimeters in size. Following that is the lateral installation, and as I was saying, these laterals will be installed at each property at no cost to any of the property owners. And finally, there's the backfill of that 12-inch trench up to the surface of the road. Typical completion time, I actually need to clarify on this one. I did meet with Sci-Fi today, and they actually said this, once they open up a section, they're actually completed the same day. So it's actually 1 day to complete an area once they go into a neighborhood. So overall, the timeline, and speaking with Sci-Fi, there's roughly another 6 months to complete the design of all of the 450 miles of installation of the microtrenching, doing the permitting, and then they estimate 2 to 3 years to complete installation throughout the city. The city and the project would be broken into roughly 10 areas. The cost is to be completely funded by Sci-Fi Networks at approximately $100 million. With no cost for bringing fiber optic to each property. Nothing is being borne by the property owners. Sci-Fi is to also pay for the city's costs for reviewing, permitting, and inspection so that we can keep the project moving along quickly. So the agreement does outline that they are responsible for all that. The city would just need to invoice them for time related to that. In terms of coordination, again, staff would be looking to work closely with Sci-Fi to efficiently complete review of these designs, providing scheduling of city's own CIP projects so that we can be tightly coordinated with them, and just ensuring that our planning of projects, there's no conflicts of the work that goes forward. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate your report. I do have a few questions, actually. This is really exciting. But what one of the questions that we had when we discussed this some time ago, especially as our city was getting ready to do the $35 million infrastructure improvement project, and that was a repaving of our streets. What happens to the streets that have already been rehabilitated and repaved as we go back to this? I know conversations had occurred with the previous administration in terms of there would be coordination, as the cities, as the streets are being redone, so that this happens. But I know that it's been a while. So what do we do with areas that have been completely redone and are officially finished? For example, the Orange Estates, we just completed a pretty significant repaving.
Sure, and for areas where the work has been done, I think the advantage of this micro trenching and the location of where it's done, the way they're able to finish and use sort of that black broom finish along that 2-inch strip, there should be a minimal, I mean, there's certainly no impact to the street itself because it's right up against the curb line. In terms of the visual impact of that, one of the things I did discuss with them today, sometimes after a couple months, it starts to oxidize a little bit and starts to kind of get a light gray look and appearance, and they, through their experience in working on these at other cities, they've been able to come along and sort of add new black dye to sort of match up with the appearance of the street. There would, from an aesthetic point of view, there really wouldn't be much we'd be able to address that with them as those issues develop. But certainly no impact to the infrastructure itself because it is right along those curb lines. They are going to be backfilling them properly so that there's no settlement or anything like that happening, and the street would be able to perform as it was originally intended after the completion of the street paving.
And so I see that the report, this would be to the network through the city will return to the City Council in January of 2024 to provide an update on this timeline. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we have a better sense at that point, wrapping up all of I think probably by January, they will be ready to start receiving permits for doing work. And speaking with them in terms of their project timeline, their hope would be starting construction in the first quarter of next year. So if they've completed their design over the next 6 months, that takes us into January, then we would spend probably a couple months with them, coordinating with them on our schedule and our own CIP projects and staying ahead of paving. So ideally getting them into areas, it's ideal if we can get them in there to do their work before we need to do our paving, and just working closely with them on any other projects that might be going on in the city.
And another thing is, I know that you mentioned the project will be broken into 10 areas. And I think the residents would want to know how would this, what 10 areas geographically, and how would the areas be prioritized? Because again, I think we want to ensure that, we are prioritizing, we know we can't do everything all at once, and this is something that is going to take 2 to 3 years. But, are we also doing an analysis of areas in our city that are in greatest need?
And we can certainly, like when we come back in January, work on that. Discuss at this point in terms of how they would break down the 10 areas. It's just something that they mentioned to us recently. We could follow the 10 areas that were already developed for the paving plan as one potential option, but we could present that in January and get some direction from council. One thing I will say is I think the infrastructure will be going in place, but I don't believe it will handle the 10 areas, but I don't believe there'll be access to that until the end of the 3-year period is complete, because it has to all be connected. So there's not just the installing the microduct along the street, that's sort of the raw infrastructure, but it all needs to be linked up and connected to that central terminal that access sort of the heart of the whole system. So everything gets kind of connected. So it probably wouldn't be into the end of this project anyways. So even if we're getting into area 1, area 2, area 3, none of those areas will probably be having access until the completion of the entire project at the end of year 3.
So again, so residents wouldn't be able to see any, big change. Again, fiber optics is here, but it's really here in 3 years.
Until it's hooked up
Right.
to the central heartbeat of the whole system, it wouldn't really be available. If there's if it is possible to do that in pieces, and again, we could speak, and during January when we present the areas where work's going to be done, there could be a discussion over and direction on prioritizing those areas.
One last question. What type of warranty do we, is there for the work in the patchwork? What is the warranty? Is there any?
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, I didn't see that spelled out in the development agreement, so I'd have to report back on that one.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Council colleagues, do you have additional questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much. I will then entertain a motion in a second to receive and file the status update on the implementation of a citywide fiber optic network system with Sci-Fi Networks Downey LLC.
I make a motion.
Second.
Please vote. Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate the report.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Sosa absent.
Thank you. And at this time, I will adjourn this meeting in memory of Los Angeles County Sheriff Recruit Alejandro Martinez, 27, who succumbed to his injuries after being hit by a wrong-way driver in Whittier last November, and CAL FIRE Assistant Chief Josh Bischoff, CAL FIRE Captain Tim Rodriguez, and contract pilot Tony Souza, who died during a helicopter crash while battling a small fire in the Cabazon area. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. It is 8:32. This meeting is adjourned.